For a lot of us, when we think about an intentional wardrobe, our minds go to minimalism. And that if you're being seriously thoughtful about your wardrobe, you should be working toward a neutral 40-piece capsule. My wardrobe has over 250 pieces, and I'd argue that my approach is just as intentional, it just looks a little bit different. In 2021/2022, minimalism was all the rage. One of my favorite creators, Anna Newton from the Anna Edit, had decluttered like 98% of her wardrobe. She had this tiny closet with like 3 pairs of shoes, and she was not the only creator that I watched who was doing this. It was at this time where I discovered the channel Use Less, where Sin has a year-round capsule wardrobe, but then also seasonal wardrobes that she swaps in for fall, winter, and spring, summer. However, the total amount of pieces was definitely under 100, if not more. These channels, along with others, showed me these chic women with these tiny closets, and I decided to try it for myself. I spent just about a year and a half picking 30 to 33 pieces every season as my capsule wardrobe. I still had a humongous wardrobe, but I would select certain pieces to be the only pieces that I'd wear for a 3-month period. It was after this year and a half of doing this for every season that I decided this was not for me. But before I get into that, I want to share what I did learn from capsule wardrobes because it wasn't all bad. Using capsules was my first big realization that I was not wearing even a small percentage of my wardrobe. When I was picking these 30 pieces, I was picking from an even larger wardrobe, even more clothes than I think I had, in 2024 when I had over 300 items in my wardrobe. It was packed to the brim. And within the 30 pieces that I was selecting, I wasn't even wearing all of those pieces in the 30-day time frame. There still ended up being a select few that weren't getting worn, even though I was already choosing from a small portion of the clothes that I had. Up until that moment, I had this delusion that I was wearing all of my clothes, a lot. I had no inkling that I was wearing probably 20% of my wardrobe 80% of the time, like the statistic goes. And that sort of allowed me to start thinking about how I wanted to change that and actually wear all of the clothes that I was storing, because I didn't want to be organizing, laundering a bunch of pieces that I wore once a year. The math wasn't mathing for me at that point. In addition, I got really good at packing. I was 100% a super overpacker up to that point because I wanted a lot of options, and I felt like to have a lot of options on trips, I needed to pack a lot of clothes. But using a capsule allowed me to get better at curating a small portion of clothing, making sure all the pieces worked together, making sure the colors worked, making sure that everything that I put in my capsule wardrobe would work with more than one item on the rack. And so that translated really well into packing for trips, because that's essentially what you're doing. You're making sure that a lot of bottoms and tops work with a lot of other bottoms and tops within the selection of clothes that you're bringing with you on your trip. But those learnings weren't enough to keep me on the capsule train, and I ended up doing my last capsule in the summer of 2022. So why did I stop using capsule wardrobes? First, I got tired of putting the 30 pieces together. I always found it hard to pick out pieces for transitional periods specifically. If I'm picking out my capsule in, say, September, and that's my capsule for September, October, and November, that's a wide variety of temperatures that I need to have clothes for. So it's hot in September, I'm still wearing shorts. It's maybe like hot and cold in October, so maybe I need a bit of long sleeves. And then in November, it's cold. I need some sweaters. So it felt really difficult to create a capsule for all of the different needs within my climate. Next, it felt restrictive. I was creating these capsules with a curated set of pieces that all worked well together. So sometimes a piece that maybe didn't work with everything else would get eliminated because it was an outlier. And I was like, I want to wear this cute new thing that I love and I think is really lovely, but it doesn't fit in with the rest of the pieces that I'm pulling together for this capsule, so I guess I have to leave it out. I would also just get really bored of the pieces that I had in my capsule. I would have one or two dresses or make sure that I had a good variety of pants. Like I would do it like I was packing, but you know, sometimes you want to wear a different dress or whatever. I would stick to my capsule, even if I had other things that I could wear outside of it. I really want to like stick to the rules. And so I wouldn't go to the rest of my closet if I did want to change something up or try something new. I would just stick to the 30 or so pieces that I had selected. And it just made me bored by the end. I felt like I had put all the combinations together that were possible and I was over it. And I will say, like, I was in a different headspace. I think that if I was to do it now, I would take a different approach and I probably wouldn't feel like as bored by the end. But I definitely realized that a capsule wardrobe was a useful tool, but not the destination for me. Within the fashion space, I feel like I see two main camps. There's the capsule side, where people have very small wardrobes and it's mostly made up of neutrals and basics. And then there's the other side of the coin where it's these fashion girlies with endless wardrobes full to the brim. But I will say there is one exception that I've seen so far, and if you have any more, please put them down in the comments because I want to learn more from these people who are doing the in-between thing. They're curating their wardrobe and also creating really exciting outfits. The exception that I know of is Daily Helen on YouTube. She has a small curated wardrobe full of pieces that she absolutely loves, and she's able to make creative outfits within her wardrobe using a piece that she's brought in using intention and being thoughtful about how it will impact her wardrobe alongside the pieces that she already has and loves that she's built her foundational wardrobe with. I think most of us fall into this middle ground and it doesn't get talked about that much. There was a comment on one of my videos about how when this person sees people on the internet with these tiny wardrobes, it makes them feel like that journey isn't possible for them. But I'm here to tell you that you can have a curated wardrobe no matter if your closet is big or small. So what does intentionality look like for me? The first piece is analytical styling. For me, this means looking at what I already have and the outfits that I've already put together and looking at patterns within those outfits and pieces and asking the questions why you like something or don't, or why something looks good or doesn't. And then using that information to be more intentional about what you're bringing into your wardrobe. This was important for me because in the past I've been very emotional when it comes to shopping and decluttering. I wouldn't really think about how a new piece would affect the rest of my wardrobe, and a lot of times I would just declutter because I wasn't wearing something and I wouldn't ask myself why I wasn't wearing that piece, which is very useful information. There's a series on my channel called Style It or Say Goodbye where I take two pieces from the section of my wardrobe that has clothes that I don't know how to style or that I never wear. I style those two pieces 3 ways each and then I decide whether or not to declutter them or keep them in my wardrobe. This series alone has taught me so much about my closet, my wardrobe, and how I create outfits. I am talking through my thought process and how I feel about the outfit and what my go-tos are in terms of outfits, and it really helped me to get creative with pieces as well. But the most important part is it teaches me why something is like on the chopping block and why I haven't styled it and why I maybe do like it and want to keep it in my wardrobe. For example, I had a pair of two-tone pants and they seem like a great item to have in my wardrobe. They were a high-rise cropped style in a neutral two-tone, a cream, and like a tan. They were in a cut that I loved, and they were non-stretch, and they just seemed like a basic neutral piece that could work in anyone's wardrobe. And I wore them maybe 3 times, and I've had them in my wardrobe for about 4 years. So why hadn't I worn them? Turns out they were just really cool-toned. The colors were clashing with every top that I was styling with them, and I think now I just prefer a more loose fit pant as opposed to something that was as fitted as those. So I ended up decluttering them. And I learned that I should stay away from more fitted, non-stretch bottoms, cool toned pieces as well for now, but maybe the two-toned element is something that I could get wear out of, because there were outfits that I felt like if the colors were nice, it would have worked better. But because the colors were off, the outfit fell off. And so that's all information that I can take with me and can help me shop better and more intentionally. And why does that matter? Because at the end of the day, your closet's only getting bigger because you're bringing more pieces in. But if you can be more thoughtful about the pieces that you're bringing in, you're less likely to declutter them. You can hang on to them for longer, and they'll be like an integral part of your wardrobe as opposed to something you wear for 2 years or sits in your closet totally unworn and then you end up decluttering it. It's about being more thoughtful about what you bring in, so you're only bringing in favorites. It's only pieces that you absolutely love. And eventually, through this process, you curate your wardrobe, bringing in things to fill the gaps and decluttering the pieces that don't work so that you can create a really cohesive, curated, intentional wardrobe. So not only looking for patterns within the pieces that you don't like and you're decluttering, looking for patterns in what you do like is also important because it can help you to lean into those. For example, I love a good pleat. I love pleating. I think it's really beautiful, particularly this style of pleat as opposed to like an accordion pleat. Finding patterns within the pieces that you love is just as important as finding patterns in the pieces that you don't love, because that starts to build into what you might grasp as your signature style. Like, what are the tent poles? What is the foundation of your signature style? It's all in the details. Do you have a signature color? Do you love a full sleeve? Do you love pleats like me? What are the details that, when they come together, create that signature style? That is what being intentional is. It's about being aware of the details that go into your pieces and building your signature style in a way that isn't just about consumerism and having more stuff, but about building a signature style that is unique to you. It's about paying attention to shapes, textures, proportions, and fabric. And in that same vein, when a lot of us think about curation and intentionality within our wardrobe, most of us think that it needs to be neutral. I know for me, for a long time, I felt like black was a vital part of my wardrobe because everyone has been telling me since I was born that black is a classic, the classic little black dress. But I think that's just not true. I think if you want to have an intentional wardrobe, an easy way to do it is neutrals. But I think for a lot of us, neutrals is not our style. If it is, that's great. Everyone's allowed to have their own personal style, and if yours is neutral, I love that. Christina Micas has a wonderful, beautiful style, and I think a lot of her style is grounded in neutrals. But I think you can have a curated style without neutrals. It's just a bit harder. You have to be even more thoughtful. You have to really pay attention to what colors you like to pair together, what color combinations work within your wardrobe, and you can build out your own personal color story. I have created my own personal color palette, and it's really helped me to curate my wardrobe and make all of the pieces feel cohesive when styled together. And as I've been decluttering my wardrobe and I'm seeing the pieces sitting side by side, I can see my wardrobe getting more curated because I see what the pieces look like side by side within my closet, and the color story feels unique to me and cohesive as well. So if you want to learn more about how I created my personal color palette, I can leave that video link down below as well as in the cards if you want to learn more about how I created my personal color palette, how I use it, and how you can decide whether or not it can work for you. And what's nice about having a curated color palette is worrying about whether the colors work together goes without saying. And so you're able to focus on the other details of creating an outfit, the fabric, the proportion, the silhouette, the shape. It allows you to sort of accept that the colors are going to work no matter what. And then you can play a little bit more when it comes to the other details of your outfit. Using a color palette can also help guide what you're bringing into your wardrobe. I speak to this more in the full video that I created about my personal color palette. But when you have a guide in terms of color, it really helps you eliminate a lot of stuff that you might otherwise be purchasing because it's not in the right color. And it allows for that new piece to work better within your wardrobe than if it was just a random color that you liked, that you hoped would work within your wardrobe. In that same vein, using a personal color palette has made me more thoughtful about how a new piece is going to affect my wardrobe as a whole. Not just in color, but in shape, proportion, which I had never done before I started using my personal color palette. And I think that's really important because I know for me in the past, I would just buy something and it would be like a singular thing, an object that has no effect on anything else in my wardrobe. And now by using the personal color palette and everything I've learned from that, I take a second to think about how I'm going to style this piece with the pieces that I already have. How is this new piece going to impact my wardrobe as a whole? And it's just really opened up my mind to thinking about how I'm building this wardrobe that I've already started by bringing in new pieces, which has made my wardrobe as a whole feel way more intentional. If you've been watching my past couple of videos, my no-buy video, my closet inventory video, my low-buy video, I talk a lot about reducing my wardrobe. And that's not to say that a 250-piece wardrobe can't be intentional. But for me personally, I want my wardrobe a little bit smaller. I don't have a ton of space. But you can have an intentional wardrobe at any size. You can have a 300-piece wardrobe that's intentional. You might not wear it all. Maybe you do. If you're wearing a different outfit every day, like you could have 100 pairs of shoes, 100 tops, 100 bottoms, and you have endless possibilities. I'm not here to tell anybody what size your closet should be. Only you know that. And I need a smaller wardrobe because I don't have a lifestyle that requires me to have a humongous wardrobe. And that's okay. Just like it's okay if you have a wardrobe over 250 items. If you walk in your wardrobe and it makes you happy, then you have an intentional wardrobe. But for me, I was going into my wardrobe and I was feeling overwhelmed and guilty because there was a lot of pieces that I wasn't wearing, and there were times where I felt like I had nothing to wear. So a wardrobe with fewer pieces than I have now is something that I think is going to work better for me. That being said, I think having a larger wardrobe does have its benefits. I love having options. That's one of my favorite things. I don't want to have to just buy one sweater vest and have that be the sweater vest. I like having options when it comes to pattern and neckline and silhouette. And so having options in my wardrobe is really important to me so that I can create a lot of different combinations when it comes to my wardrobe. For example, when I got my Index app Wrapped, which is my digital wardrobe app that I use to organize my clothes and create outfits, and it also has really fun analytics like the percentage of my closet that I've worn over a certain period of time, my most worn items, and things like that. So at the end of the year, they do an Index Wrapped, and similarly to Spotify Wrapped, where it goes over some stats for the year. And in that Wrapped, they said that with the wardrobe that I have, I could make over 300,000 combinations within my wardrobe. Granted, that's probably not all combinations that I would actually like or wear, but that is an absolute ton of combinations, which is what I love. I love that I could make 300,000 combinations. That's a lot. It's probably more than I'd ever need, which is why I'm working on reducing my wardrobe a little bit. But having so many options and variety of pieces, even if it's a slight difference, like having a V-neck or a crew neck, or having two V-necks and two crew necks, like I think there's so much variation in details that having a lot of different options feels right for me and for how I use and style clothes in my everyday life. And I think having such a large wardrobe allows me to play with color a lot more. I have a wide variety of colors within my wardrobe. Just within my pants, I have 5 pairs of big bed press trousers. It's all the same shape of pant, but they're in 5 different colors. And that might feel excessive to you, but it's one of my favorite pant styles, and I love being able to create a lot of different combinations in my favorite outfit formulas, which is those pants and a t-shirt and something over the top usually, whether that's a cardigan or a button down. I love having a lot of different options, especially when it comes to my favorite pieces and my favorite outfit formulas. Finally, having a larger wardrobe makes me feel like I have the kind of wiggle room to experiment a little bit. If I had a tiny wardrobe, I know myself, I would put a lot of pressure on each piece that I bring in. But with a bigger wardrobe, I feel like I have enough pieces to experiment and try different combinations if I bring in something that's more of a calculated risk. For example, I bought a pair of barrel leg jeans. I wasn't sure if they were gonna be like perfect within my wardrobe, but I bit the bullet and tried them, and I really love them. They're one of my favorite pieces in my wardrobe. But I think if I had a smaller wardrobe, I would feel less comfortable taking risks like that because I feel like I would have one pair of jeans, and so I should probably stick to like the classic pair, which would be more of a straight leg pair. But that doesn't really feel as much like my personal style. Like I would choose these bare leg jeans over a straight leg pair any day of the week now that I have them. But before getting them in my wardrobe, I wouldn't have been so sure about it. So I feel like I don't know if I would have taken the leap to try the bare leg jeans. And so that's another reason that I really appreciate my larger wardrobe. At the end of the day, being intentional isn't about some magic number that you hit and you become an intentional person. It's about engaging thoughtfully with what you already have and using what you know about yourself and your style to make intentional decisions about what you bring in and let go of. What does being intentional in your wardrobe look like for you? Let's chat about it in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. I love making videos all about personal style and making the most out of your wardrobe, so if you don't want to miss anything from me, make sure to subscribe. It really helps my channel. If you enjoyed this, you might enjoy my video where I talk about the 5 creators that I follow who dress nothing like me and what I've learned from them, so I will link that here and see you in the next one. Bye!